6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Do you have constitutional questions? Get constitutional answers. We'll be answering your constitutional questions live, so get ready to call in now. Are you a prosecutor, law enforcement officer, or local government employee? Want to make sure you are executing the laws in a constitutional manner? Are you a city council member, township board member, or state legislator? Want to ensure the laws you pass are constitutional? Perhaps you're a citizen who wants to know the proper limits on government and the protections for your God-given liberties. Regardless of your role, call me, Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry, with your constitutional questions during our live call-in show now at the phone number listed on the screen. And remember, together we can restore freedom.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry. Welcome to Restore Freedom Weekly. Our format has changed recently, and looks like I'm having some video lag, so that's interesting. Hopefully it works well enough to make this a successful call-in show, but we'll see. I guess it also helps if I'm totally prepared by having the app open that accepts the phone calls. That will make or break whether or not I can receive phone calls today, of course. Well, bear with me on the technological issues. I tried to get everything refreshed and closed out and restarted right before the show. I was noticing there were some issues, and I can't tell where it is, whether it's internet, whether it's the computer, whether it's specific software. So it is what it is. I'll do my best. But at any rate, I want to welcome Sam. I saw some comments that you made on my post yesterday, so I wanted to address some stuff you were talking about. Cat Scratch, and let's see. Looks like we might have somebody new asking a question. Why do some constitutional lawyers only pick certain cases, even when an individual's rights were clearly violated? That's a good question. By the way, I want to say hi to Andy and Jay Curvitt and Leroy Truth Investigations, Dr. Sean Berry. Hello to all of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if you have a question, go ahead and put in all capital letters. I can't type and talk at the same time today, apparently. Okay, so put in all capital letters the word question, and then turn caps lock off, and then type your question. Because when I'm scrolling through, there's oftentimes you guys will be talking back and forth to each other, and I can't possibly keep up and read all that while I'm talking to you or taking a phone call or answering somebody else's question. So hello to Big Bad John. You are just fine. You're only a few minutes late. We're just getting started. So welcome to today's show. So with that being said, I want to, Mile High 303, if you happen to be somebody that has joined us before, and I just don't remember, I apologize, but I don't recall that username before. So anyway, the question asked is, why do some constitutional, in fact, let me see if I can get it on here. Scroll down. Okay. There we go. It's kind of tiny, but it is what it is. Why do some constitutional lawyers only pick certain cases, even when an individual's rights are clearly violated? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but, so I'm not going to answer for everybody, but I could tell you that, for example, for me, since 2020 began, and I essentially quit doing all the money-making types of work and instead turned to doing freedom fighting and educating the public and government officials on the law and the Constitution and what the proper role of government is. how you cannot use executive orders to regulate the people, etc. It's just a different ball game. So oftentimes you have to look at what's within the parameters of the resources of that particular attorney or law firm. So obviously a much smaller law firm like mine, I've only ever had one attorney. Usually I only have one paralegal at a time when I do have one. Of course, in this day and age, when I'm doing all freedom fighting work, I can't afford to pay a paralegal. So it's just been me. But even when I did have a paralegal and a legal secretary and some interns, I still was limited with resources, and you can only take so many cases, right? So that's one of the things to consider right off the bat is what are the resources of that attorney? Now, the cost of an attorney, oh, it's going to do that thing. Okay, this is awesome. It is. I don't think it's showing me. So you guys will have to tell me how it's going. I don't know where Lori is today, so I don't know if she's jumping on board or going to help. This was an issue that we were having months ago, and I tried different things. I tried OBS. I tried going live directly through Rumble. I tried a variety of things. And let's see. The whole computer is freaking out at me. So I don't know how we're going to be able to do a show where I can successfully answer your guys' questions, but we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, yes. Perhaps Mr. Henry can come in and help me with this and see what's going on. I'm just going to, I don't know if you guys can hear me. It doesn't even show my video. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to switch to different resolutions, see if that helps. Okay, maybe I'm back. Huh. All right, you guys will have to tell me. There's several of you already chatting in the comments. Let me know. Have you been able to see me this whole time? Are you seeing what I see on the screen where I totally disappeared for a little bit there? And if I did, were you able to hear me if I visibly disappeared? So at any rate, we'll try this and go from there. Of course, now it's not letting me. In the show. Am I back? Am I back? Yeah. Can you see me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I'm delayed.
Well, yeah, there's a delay, but you're back.
How delayed am I? Okay. This is awesome. Okay.
It's a normal delay.
It's a normal delay. Okay. So I was doing my best to answer. I'm not sure what you guys heard, but I wanted to try to bring back the question that was there. First of all, I want to remind you guys to put your questions in this format so I can, when I scroll, I can see that you're talking to me. Otherwise, I won't necessarily know that you're talking to me. And let's see. There was something else I wanted to address. This one. Dude, if you want me to fix the technology situation, you are more than welcome to buy me a new computer, to buy me a new router, to pay for me to have upgraded internet, whatever the issue may be, because we have tried everything. And I am on a shoestring budget because I actually pay out of pocket to do all this work to help people. Out of pocket, out of my own personal pocket. So basically what happens is my husband goes to work, earns a lot of money, not even a lot of money. He earns the best he can because this economy sucks and he had to take a huge pay cut when we moved to Florida. And he does his best to provide for us. And then I take a chunk of that money and I throw it into helping people for free and not get paid for it, and donations don't come in anymore. So I'm literally doing all of this out of my own pocket. So if you want me to fix any technological issues, you can step up and help me in some way, but don't just tell me to fix them like I'm sitting here, twirling my hair and twiddling my thumbs and not doing jack shit about it. I'm doing my absolute best. So obviously that got under my skin because there's nothing I can do other than what I'm doing. And I'm not terrible with technology. My dad is a computer programmer and has been in the computer industry for many years, so I'm not brand new to technology, but we've tried to find the problem. So we've tried different programs. We've tried doing OBS, which is on a computer. We've tried web-based programs.
Use different softwares.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was literally in the middle of saying. OBS is a computer-based program where it's on your desktop. We've tried web-based programs. We even tried directly through Rumble, and that didn't work. So we've done everything we can. Anyway, to try to get to the answer, is that Emma? Can you make sure she got home and then come back? So let me see. Okay, this was a question that is somebody new, I think. And honestly, if you've already heard some of the question, some of the answer I was trying to provide to you, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I have no idea where the technological issue really started and where my answer kind of dropped off and where I disappeared. So at any rate, very quickly, I'll just reiterate, there are some really good logistical reasons. Number one, the resources. You can only take so many cases based on how many resources you have. And I have had my own law firm since 2008, and I've worked for other small firms for years before that. And as my own, in my own law firm, it's only ever been me as an attorney. I have had staff throughout the years, but since COVID, when I started doing all this work for free to help people, I don't have paid staff because I can't afford to pay people when I'm not getting paid myself. So that is one consideration. And again, if you guys can't see it because it is kind of tiny and I can't change that given the programming we are now using, it says, why do some constitutional lawyers only pick certain cases, even when somebody's individual rights were clearly violated? So that's one consideration. Another consideration is perhaps the best venue for that particular claim might be, say, in a federal jurisdiction, federal district court with federal claims, and that attorney is not licensed in federal court. Maybe they're only admitted to practice in state court, or perhaps there's a conflict of interest. Maybe they have some other kind of prior business relationship with the other side, or somebody that belongs to the other side or is associated with the other side. Perhaps that particular type of constitutional issue is not one that they feel very well equipped to handle. For me, if somebody comes to me and they want me to take on a medical malpractice claim, I've practiced a lot of different areas. I've handled bankruptcies, I've handled divorces and custody and child support and contracts and landlord tenant and straight up litigation and farm and agricultural matters. All kinds of things, no fault insurance, the list goes on, right? I've handled all kinds of different things. I would not touch a medical malpractice case with a 10-foot pole. I want nothing to do with that. It's not my area of expertise. I don't know the medical terminology well enough. It's one of those areas where I think you really need a specialist. Even within the context of constitutional cases, there are some that just seem to be much more of a specialized niche, that if you don't have the experience or, just the resources, maybe it's something that takes a lot of outside research. You need something like a paid Westlaw account or something. I can't afford that. I don't have that access. Maybe, those are reasons why an attorney might not take a particular case. It might be that they don't like you. I mean, I don't know who you are. Maybe you came off really aggressive, or, maybe it sounded like you didn't really have much of a claim. Obviously we live in our own, in our own situations, in our own lives, and we take a lot of facts for granted. But when you're conveying your message to somebody else, when you're talking about your own case, and me included, it can be hard to be clear and succinct and get all the major points and none of the extra fluff across, right? So that whether you're talking about doing an oral argument in your case, or whether you're talking about trying to hire an attorney and encourage them, or convince them to take you on as a client, regardless, whether you're talking to a jury in a jury trial, all of that means you have to figure out the best way to most succinctly describe your case, what's going on, and why you should win that case. And so if that message wasn't clearly enough conveyed, or it didn't seem like there's good enough justification for such a claim, then that might be why. Even if the truth is you really do have a good case, if all of that didn't come out and wasn't clearly enough conveyed to the attorney, that might be why. So anyway, it's just a bunch of different reasons that an attorney might not. It doesn't mean they're a bad attorney because they choose not to take a case. I've had to turn down many cases, especially since COVID began. It's not because I'm a bad attorney, or not necessarily because they'd be a bad client. It's because of a variety of reasons where it just wasn't gonna, be a good fit. So anyway, I wanted to address that as the first question of today.
Go all the way to the bottom.
Go all the. Okay. Why? I'm gonna miss other questions. Okay, real quick, I do see something from Leroy Truth Investigations. He says, I was unlawfully arrested while speaking at a city commission meeting last Tuesday. I would love for you to review the video of my arrest and get your thoughts. Certainly, I would love to do that. If you wanted to send that over to me, you can do that. And if it's I'm assuming it's not a horribly long video. If it's hours long, I just simply don't have the time to do that. But if it's a nice short video, I can do that, and we can discuss it and do a video about it. And I'm not going to chase it down. So I see you're saying it's on the Long Island Audit channel, but I'm not going to go somewhere else to try to find a video. And Integrity Now, I forget what the rest of it is. It's not showing me the rest of your comments. You said just here to show support. I appreciate that. And you're saying I have to skip. I can't answer some of these questions as I'm seeing them. You want to tell me which?
There's been a lot of things that came up, but there's not very many questions. So
which question were you talking about? I have my husband in here helping me.
In bold. The questions are supposed to be in bold.
Yeah, not the whole entire thing. The word question is supposed to be in bold, like my example. Did you miss that?
Yes, I did. I missed the first 5 minutes of the show because Rumble.
Okay, it's been the same every week, but that's okay. So which one are you talking about? You want me? It has been the same every week. Isn't this nice? I'm getting picked on by the guy who's supposed to be helping me. What question are you talking about? You wanted me to scroll all the way to the bottom. Which question did you want me to look at first? Michael, which question did you want? Which one? You wanted me to scroll. I scrolled to the bottom. Yes, I'm right there. Which question did you want? I'm right there. What do you want? Mile High 303, you are totally fine.
Okay,
you are.
It's not the same as what I'm saying, so never mind.
Okay, I'm just going to go down in order of the questions that I see here. If I skip one, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to do my best. I don't have some of my background help that I normally do, and then I have my irritated husband floating in the corner. He's mad at me about something. Andy asks, can a judge hold you, in fact, I'm going to put this on there. Can a judge hold you in contempt for a motion submitted by a pro per litigant? Okay, I feel like I am missing a lot of the facts that might be involved there. So can a judge hold you in contempt for a motion submitted by a pro per litigant? Just filing a motion, I would think you wouldn't be held in contempt. I guess it depends what the motion says, what it looks like, what it contains. If it's full of all kinds of threats or something, you could be held in contempt. Just filing a motion in and of itself isn't worthy of contempt. And especially if you're a pro per or in pro se, different jurisdictions call it different things. But if you are on your own, then you're still held to the same standard of the court rules and the laws. But common sense tells us that a judge should give you a little bit of leeway if you flub up a little bit and you're trying your best to follow all those rules. Because quite frankly, all the court rules and statutes are extremely overwhelming, and it can be hard even as an attorney to follow them all. So if you want to give me a little bit more, if I didn't quite answer the question, I feel like maybe there's a lot more behind that question that I was not able to address. I'd be happy to try to get back at it. Okay. Let's see. Great looking podcast. Thank you, Big Bad John. It doesn't always seem to be that it works out that way, technologically speaking. And I have stuff showing that shouldn't be showing because the screen and all that wasn't working. So, and yes, you said that too soon. I guess you did. Okay. Okay, so I assume this was a question for me. Dougie Freedom, could you do pro se small claims for minor rights violations, or is that a waste of time? I'm not sure what you mean by that exactly. If you mean, should anybody just go to small claims, represent themselves when it comes to rights being violated in a minor way? Assuming that is your question, anytime you want to stand up against government tyranny and government officials violating the law, I say do it. Now, when you say, is it a waste of time? I can't guarantee the outcome. It depends on a myriad of factors, endless amount of factors, quite frankly. Which venue, which jurisdiction, what is the claim, who are the participants, how good are you at doing your own research and reading the court rules and trying to find the best, state laws or federal laws or whatever. If it's small claims, obviously it's talking about state claims. But at any rate, that's, yeah. So hopefully that answers your question there. Let's see. Yes, I'm back. Okay, good. Yes, Cat Scratch, 911 cancel that call. I'm back. Oh, I appreciate the compliment of looking like $1 million. I don't feel like it most days, but I appreciate it. Don't talk to the cops. I don't know what that was in regard to, but you know what? As a general rule these days, I'm going to say, yeah, don't talk to the cops because there are way too many, and they're not all bad, but there are far too many bad ones out there that you can end up in sticky situations and have it backfire on you. Okay, let's see. But you can refer, okay, so this, I'm assuming Black Quiver was following up on the question where I was essentially talking about reasons why attorneys don't take cases, and or perhaps specifically when I said I don't do medical malpractice cases myself. If you're asking about that, sure, I can refer. I can, just as it's not a legal thing. It's not me as an attorney referring. It'd be me as a citizen referring you based on knowledge that I have of a particular attorney. Unfortunately, 99.9% of the times, depending on what you are asking for, I don't know an attorney that is worthy of having a referral, somebody that I think is going to be smart enough to do the job, be willing to do the job, take it on and go all the way through, regardless of whatever personal threats that they may receive, or, threats to their livelihood or practice. If a judge wants to say, well, you shouldn't be advocating so zealously for your clients in this type of case, or whatever it is, right? There's just not anybody out there that comes to mind. The few that had popped up throughout the years that I was like, oh, great, this is a perfect, freedom fighting attorney, or this is an attorney who would do really well at XYZ. They've all kind of had their issues where I can't solidly recommend anybody. So yes, you can, as an attorney, recommend other attorneys, if that's your question. But depending on the situation, I most likely would not be able to provide a good recommendation. So, all right, we have another question. So this is Mile High 303. So I think it's called a 1983, not sure, but where would I look to learn to file a suit? No one touches CPS cases in Colorado. Oh, that is a totally loaded question. There's so much there that I am missing out on to know exactly what you're getting at. So I'm going to read between the lines and assume that you are perhaps a parent who has been involved with a CPS case that was unsubstantiated, and CPS came in and bulldozed a whole bunch of your rights in the process. And it sounds like perhaps the case itself is over, or their investigation, or whatever, but the damage is done, and now you want to seek reparations. You want them to be held accountable. Assuming that's the situation, then yes, you might want to look at a 42 USC Section 1983 claim. 42 is the title. Sounds weird because you think of title as like a book title, but that's what it's called. It's like the chapter, but the book, essentially. 42 USC, United States Code, Section 1983. There are a lot of other possible avenues, though. And really, it just depends on what's going on there. And don't forget to look at your state. I don't have anything to do with Colorado, so I don't know anything about their legislative lineup of choices you might have there, but make sure to take a look at what's available there. And even if you end up deciding, gosh, I think all state court judges would just do me wrong on this. They seem biased based on XYZ, and I think I have to bring it to federal court. First of all, don't assume that means federal court judges are not biased, because that definitely happens there too. But if you are settled on wanting to take it to a federal court for those kinds of reasons, don't think that that means you can't raise any state level claims. In fact, you only have one shot. The general rule of thumb is with anytime you file a claim, file a case in court, or even respond if you're the defendant or respondent, you have to bring all claims that you would have against that party or related parties, anything to do with that transaction or occurrence. So if there are multiple causes of action that you have where you want to sue them for this and you want to sue them for that, and then they did this, and then this other person was related to the situation, it's all part of the same transaction or occurrence, you need to bring them all into the same lawsuit and file all those claims at the same time, because if you don't, then you are running the risk that you will be deemed as having waived all those other claims. Sorry, mom moment. Did Emma make it home then? Okay. Our daughter was at swim practice, so I just had to make sure, because now my mind is stuck on whether she made it home. So at any rate, so 1983 is something you would want to look at, but you might want to take a trip down to your local law library, check out Westlaw, check out, civil rights violations, see what kinds of things pop up, what kinds of terms. Look at your state's causes of action book. Now, I might have one right behind me. I'm not sure if I do. It's not the same one that I'm used to. It was always in a binder. But anyway, your state might have, will have, somebody's published it somewhere. It might be Westlaw. It might be, your state bar. Somebody in your state has published a causes of action book where it's not going to be the end all be all, but it should be a good solid list for you to start looking through and seeing, and just look at that table of contents. And a lot of the terms might be things you're not familiar with, but go ahead and familiarize yourself, arm yourself with a Black's Law dictionary. So that's why it's a good reason to go to your local law library and, have a Black's Law dictionary next to you, have one of these other kinds of causes of action book next to you, and look at all the different things, tortious interference and whatever. There's all kinds of, I can't even think, no other words are coming to my mind of, anyway, there's all kinds of different, civil trespass claims. There's all kinds of different things, unlawful arrest, false imprisonment, malicious prosecution. There's all kinds of things. And before you make up your mind and say, oh, well, gosh, that wouldn't relate to what I'm doing, I'm going to pass that. Go ahead and look up each term in Black's Law Dictionary and get a feel for, oh, wait, maybe this is something. So, for example, malicious prosecution. If it was a CPS case where they were investigating you for supposed abuse or neglect, and, they're using the government processes to, have that investigation going against you, even though it might have had nothing to do with any kind of criminal complaint or actual prosecution, you still could look at doing a malicious prosecution claim, because in many jurisdictions, it's not necessarily having a criminal case brought against you or looking at, bringing a claim solely against the prosecutor. You could very well use that in a civil case or civil context where somebody is misusing or abusing the court system or some other part of the justice system to trample your rights. So that's just an example of one thing you might want to look up. And anyway, before I get off too far on my tangent here in answering that question, I wanted to get back to what I was trying to say. So if you decide you want to be in federal court, don't think that means you cannot raise state claims. So like if your state laws allow for you to bring a claim for malicious prosecution, for example, but you wanted to file a 42 USC section 1983 claim for violation of your due process rights or whatever the case may be, when you're in federal court, you can bring in state level claims. You just have to make sure that the main bulk of your case, the core of your case, is truly a federal claim in order to be in federal court. And the same holds true whether you're trying to bring it in state court. If you could bring federal claims there. I have done that, but the main bulk of your case should be, state level matters in order for it to stay at a state level court. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. And I'm going to scroll down and see if I, he better kiss me and make up later. I know, that's what a husband should do. Instead of growling at their wife in the corner, they should hug and kiss them and say, I love you, babe. Especially when other people are saying I look like $1 million. Just saying. All right. So anyway, trying to see here. Where did we get questions? Okay, it's Kristen. I have an update on my father, Ron, in Arizona. Okay, and fighting police. Unfortunately, I can't see all of your, oh, and I'm leaving this other thing open, like you guys can see it, but I'm afraid to share the scrolling comments, because that might be the thing that just pushed this program over the edge this time. Who knows? It seems to be working as it is right now, so I'm going to leave it as it is. I guess I should change the, there. How about that? There's the phone number, since I haven't had that up yet during this show. Let me get back to the chat, though. And darn. Okay. If there was anything else, let's see. Somebody had mentioned an update. I'm trying to scroll back. It's doing all kinds of fun things. Lots of fun for everyone. At any rate, I can't see where I was when I was scrolling, so I missed. Somebody had an update for me. If that's the case, and you want to share, go ahead and do that. If there's, a question based on that update, go ahead and give us a call, 616-303-0093. I'm the only attorney that I know of that will stop to answer your questions for free and allow you to actually call in and ask the question in your own words, and be able to get constitutional answers. And where I'm going to tell you point blank if I just don't have an answer, because I don't know the answer. So at any rate, okay, so the person that had been answering the question about CPS said, yes, I was arrested and kicked out of my house, sat in jail a week, and fought it for a year before the judge forced a dismissal. Yeah, I would say you definitely have some damages, and I would definitely pursue it if I were you. Number one thing, trust your gut if you are going to hire an attorney. Oh, of course, now I have two people calling in at the same time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. And where is 606? Where are you calling from?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay. And have we spoken before?
No.
Okay. What is your name?
My name is James Howard.
And it sounds really muffled to me. Did he say James?
Yes.
James Howard. I'm sorry. I got to wear headphones. I can barely hear sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, you just sound really muffled, and I'm hard of hearing. And so anyway, we'll do our best. What is your question for me?
Well, I have a neighbor. His name is Dakota Priest. He was born with a brain condition. He has seizures. He's a little short guy. I don't know if you would consider him a midget or anything. That's no disrespect. He's a handicapped person. But he has to come up with like $10,000 either every 4 months or every 4 years, or they say he has to go to jail or prison. Is that even legal?
He has to pay who? For what?
He has to pay the state.
For what?
For his medical condition, as far as I know. He has to come up with that money and pay that money, or he has to go to jail or prison.
No. I definitely feel like I'm missing something there. I would love to see whatever kind of documentation that he's receiving on this. If there's some sort of court order, or if it's relating to some sort of restitution or what. But no, they can't force you to go to jail because you can't afford to pay for your medical bills.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He said his dad pays on it. He said it's a lot more than that. He said actually the state pays some on it too. I don't have no legal documentation. I talked to him a couple times about it. I'm like, man, I don't know. I wouldn't pay that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get some sort of documentation on it and ask him, and call in the next show, and we'll figure out how you can send it to me. Just have a very clear copy that's already, either scanned in or as a picture, that we could go over. I'd be happy to look at what's going on with that. And the person calling from the 480 area code, give me just a minute to finish this phone call, and then I would gladly take your phone call. At any rate, so yeah, if you wanted to give me something more to go on, I'd be happy to check that out. So
Do you got a fax number? I don't care to help this guy out because he's a really humble person, pretty nice guy.
I don't have a fax number, but if you wanted to, call in during the next show, and right at the very beginning, or even how about, 15 minutes at least before the next show, you can, depending on how much it is and how complicated it is, you could text it to this number that you just called in on. I only,
Okay.
This number is specifically for this purpose of the show.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd like to take a look, and then you could call in during the show and we could talk about it.
Oh, that would be great. I really appreciate what you're doing for folks too.
Well, thank you for that. It's good to know where I'm useful. So but I'll look forward to hearing from you. The next show, I don't know what the date is. Actually, the date will probably, it might need to move. The next date looks like it might be August 13th. It's a Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month at noon. It just depends on how I'm feeling, because I will have just come out of having some possible cancer-related surgery just a few days before. So, but my goal will be to be live on August 13th. So if you wanted to send it in, maybe 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, 11:30 in the morning, and to this phone number, that would be great.
I'll see what I can do. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. 480. Are you going to give me a call back now? You called 3 times and I couldn't get to you. There you are. Hello. And where is 480 area code? Arizona. Okay. So are you the one that has the update?
Yeah, it was kind of like a small update that my father's opening brief for his appeal has gotten filed.
Okay.
And so then I had another question. Talking to somebody. Sorry. My question was, my father's getting denied medical treatment in the prison he's in. And so we had filed a writ of mandamus requesting his release on an appeal bond or something while his appeal is pending.
Okay.
And the court has rejected it, but they're not really giving us any reason. It just seems like they're dragging their feet, and it seems like they're just struggling with my dad's life because it's for a heart condition that, if they keep continuing denying him medical care, he's going to end up dying.
Yeah. So what specifically is your question for me on that?
Like, maybe what our options are, or did we do something wrong or skip a step?
Well, unfortunately, that's something that I just don't have the answer for, because I don't know the specifics of the court rules and procedures in Arizona. And so, doing a writ of mandamus would probably be a good step to take. So that sounds like, a good thing that you tried that. There might be another route available, but it's really hard to, you might want to take a look at your local law library as well, and see if you can find a book about civil rights remedies in your state. And that might, because your state bar or, Westlaw or, one of those, similar companies is bound to have a book. There's probably 50 in your local law library, depending on how big it is, but there's at least bound to be one that kind of goes over what civil rights violations are and the types of laws, the court rules, and it'll be perhaps a good starting point, because maybe there's something in there that's a different avenue that you could take that's specific to how the court rules are set up in your state.
Okay.
off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think, what other,
Well, going off of what you just mentioned, I am, because I'm a law student, so I got a membership with the American Bar Association.
okay.
If they might have some resources.
The American Bar Association probably has a lot of resources, but I haven't been a member since after, my first year in practice a lot of years ago. So I don't know what resources they have these days, but I was just thinking, for me, I don't do so well necessarily just looking at the endless expanse of the internet. I'd rather have a book right in front of me that I can read and kind of cross-reference things. And, like I said with the other caller, have Black's Law Dictionary open at the same time and just be able to look back and forth. I feel like I'm not going to miss anything that way. Once you have a better idea of exactly what you're looking for, that's when I would jump online and, use Westlaw or whatever kind of ABA online resource you might have access to with a, database they might have.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And there was one other thing that came to mind right as you were asking that. A writ of habeas corpus, there might be something to that. That's something you might want to look into about the different requirements for seeking a writ of habeas corpus and what reasons, you can have to justify that in your jurisdiction. So that might be one more thing to look at.
Okay.
All right. Well,
okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck and let us know how things go.
I will. Thanks.
All right. Bye. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to get back to the questions here. 75 clicks later. I have no idea what this program is doing. Okay. Again, if I have skipped any questions, I apologize. I'm trying to scroll through and see. Okay, if a litigant moves a judge for judicial review or judicial notice, but the judge declines without an opinion or conclusion of law, can you argue the judge is limiting your defense by not providing due process? That's going to depend. So there's a lot of pieces that are involved in this question. I don't know what jurisdiction that's in, and I'll put the question up here on the screen here. So the first thing you want to do is look at whatever your court rules say. It's probably not going to be anything in your state statutes about taking judicial notice or judicial review. It's probably just going to be handled within the confines of your state's court rules. Now, keep in mind, too, assuming it's a state case, you have your state court rules, but oftentimes you have local court rules. So you might have county court rules, or that particular judge might have their own court rules. And hopefully, if they do, all of those are available on their website. The first thing you'd want to do is contact the court clerk for that particular jurisdiction, wherever the case is, and find out if they do have local court rules and where you can find them. And review what the specifics are about taking judicial notice. Generally speaking, if they don't take judicial notice, that doesn't necessarily mean they're denying you due process, because you could still make those arguments or present that. Sometimes you want a judge to take judicial notice of a particular, fact. And so if it's something that is of a fact nature, you can still try to introduce it the normal way that you would introduce evidence. If you want a judge to take judicial notice of a particular law for some reason, and they decline to do so, you can still argue that law. You can make a motion depending on what the law is, that might change what your motion is. Is it a motion to dismiss? Is it a motion to suppress? Is it, there's a lot of things you could be motioning for. And you could, you might have a brief that's due. Sometimes judges require trial briefs. Sometimes court rules require trial briefs to be filed at trial level. types of cases. So at any rate, I wish there was a clear-cut answer that I could just, here you go, 1 + 1 is 2, and it's always 2. But there's so many variables here. I don't know what all goes into that equation, so I can't give you just a straightforward answer on that. But yeah, so if a judge basically is saying, no, I'm not going to take judicial notice of that, and they're not providing a reason why, it's you'd have to look at what your court rules say about that process. If you feel that you followed the procedures for having judicial notice done, and there's, then look at what your court rules say about judicial notice. Do they require the judge to issue some sort of written opinion as to why they are denying your request for taking judicial notice? What does it require the trial judge to do with that? And if the judge is violating the court rules about that, then usually the court rule itself will say what needs to happen. Perhaps what you need to do is file an interlocutory appeal, which means filing an appeal before your case is over. But what you could do is just file, at least if it's, if everything's happening in the course of a trial, like literally in the midst of a trial, you request judicial notice be taken of some sort of thing, and you feel like you're complying with the rules, and the judge just says no, gives no reason why. Perhaps your court rules say they have to give you a reason why on the record or in writing, and they don't. Then you could make an objection or make a request, make an argument about that. There's just different ways. Just make sure whatever you're doing, you're putting your legal arguments on the record in some way, shape, or form. If it's in the context of something that's happening right then and there in a hearing or in a trial, you want to do it verbally and have it on the record. If it's something where you have the opportunity to file something, file a motion or file a petition or file an interlocutory appeal or something like that. There's so many variables, I don't know what, but the underlying thing is CYA, cover your ass, right? So make sure you are making that issue respectfully known, either verbally on the record or in writing or both. And like I said, it's not necessarily the case that they're denying you due process just because they're not taking judicial notice, because you still have those other avenues of either introducing the factual evidence or making the legal arguments. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Can I bring in the Fair Housing Act due to the prosecutor trying to have me basically trespassed from my rental? Obstruction charge, no actual probable cause for arrests on private. I'm not an expert on the Fair Housing Act, so it's possible that there could be some housing discrimination issues there that you want to include. Again, don't overlook state level claims, because oftentimes housing discrimination can find, especially with that kind of claim, can find a much stronger basis in a state law than with federal law. But again, without knowing all the specifics, I wouldn't know, what your best course of action would be. Okay. We have lots of people saying what, but that was like 15 minutes ago, so I have no context. I don't know. Did I say something super confusing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you know what that was about?
No.
Okay. Greetings from the Keweenaw Peninsula. Oh, I like it. Using an emoji. I didn't realize they have an emoji that works for the UP. All right. Well, yes. Oh, and with a name like that, you're finished. So that's awesome. Anyway. Okay. Somebody says they would like to hear more on that. I'm not sure what you wanted to hear more on. If I knew, I could perhaps tell you. But at any rate, I do appreciate prayers. Yes, I hope the cancer-related issues, hopefully it does turn out to be benign. We've had some significant cancer history in my family, in my close family. And so it's just a little bit of a a concern, but hopefully if it is cancer, we're catching it early enough. So, okay. Okay, I'm just looking to see if I skipped any questions. I think I got everything. Wow. All right, guys, before I call it a night, we've only had a couple of people actually physically call in, and otherwise we had questions that came online. So call in if you do have any questions, constitutional or legal in nature. And as you've seen throughout the course of the show, if I have the answer, I will gladly pass it on to you. If I don't know the answer, I'm not going to fool you. I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm just going to tell you I don't know the answer. In the meantime, I did switch back to the landscape format of the show because we tried portrait format last time. I had several people complain and say they didn't like it. One thing I forgot to try, what I should have tried, and maybe what I'll do next time, is to try portrait format one more time, but where I'm not having the comments shown on the screen. Because if you are in YouTube, you can do that yourself. You can see the comments and scroll and do all that other fun stuff. And so you don't need double of the comments, essentially. So, oh, we do have a call. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. Where are you calling from today?
Pennsylvania. This is Jerry from Manor, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And what question do you have for me today?
Well, I'm in a Department of Justice American Disabilities Civil Rights claim. And I found out at the council meeting last week that our solicitor frauded paperwork on getting us a PA system. So, because near our borough building, there's school train tracks and we cannot hear. So, and I have a hearing problem and I've been fighting this for years. Now, my question is, what would be your position and what could I do against a solicitor who falsified documents and got paid for it?
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand correctly. Are you talking about your local city council meetings?
Yes.
Okay, and you're talking about, I'm not sure what a position of solicitor is. It's, I mean,
Attorney.
Attorney. Okay, in that sense. So you're saying the city attorney falsified records about getting a PA system?
Yes.
So are they claiming that they solicited to get funds from some agency and they received the funds, but they didn't actually put the PA system in?
No, she made a bid for a PA system, said it would cost between $35,000 and $40,000. Then when I put in a FOIA request, they didn't know the cost of the PA system. And I called her out on it, and she was told that she was supposed to do it. I don't know how she got authorized to do it, but she falsified the record on getting the PA system.
So she was trying to make it look like it was cost prohibitive to get one?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, there should, in those situations, they should be bidding things out anyway. So there should be multiple bids and they shouldn't be going to a city attorney. That's usually something for a city manager or a mayor or, you know, some sort of head of the executive side of things in that regard. So as far as what you can do, you know, did you actually ever put in writing an ADA request for some sort of PA system so that you can hear the meetings better?
Yes.
Okay. And did they
the
respond?
Department of Justice accepted my complaint. We went to mediation, the borough dropped out of mediation, and DOJ is forcing them to put in the PA system, but they're kicking the can down the road. And
Okay.
they're falsifying records while they're doing this.
So, you know, I would do two things. I would follow up with your FOIA requests, your Freedom of Information Act requests, and whatever the procedures are. Usually it's a very short time window to do something about it. But if they're denying your requests, or if they're, you know, saying they're not available or something of that nature, pursue whatever court action you need to appeal that action. And make sure that you're staying within whatever short time frames your jurisdiction likely has. As far as the actual getting the getting the PA system in, because you already have something going with the DOJ, I would, you know, keep in contact with them and let them know and turn over to them whatever information you've been getting from your FOIA requests. And you know, even if it's denials or if it's, you know, they're not sure, you know, whatever information you're getting, make sure they have copies of all that, and just be, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, I think is the phrase. So make sure you are letting them know it's a continued concern, and all the while you are essentially being precluded from actively participating in your local government. I would also go to the press and talk about that, how, you know, you as a member of the community have made a reasonable request for accommodations because of, you know, X, Y, and Z, or, you know, a hearing disability, being by railroad tracks, whatever the case is that go into why it would be helpful to have a PA system for the meetings. And, you know, even, I'm pretty sure even when we were in Belding, they had a PA system, didn't they? I used to serve on the Downtown Development Authority and the Planning Commission. My husband was on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We used to go to a lot of city council meetings, and very small town, 5,000 people. And we met in an old train depot, very, very small. And yeah, we had very small room, often not too many people, but they still had a PA system, because that's just common sense to make sure, you know, you can record, have it recorded, and to make sure that people can adequately participate. So I would go to the press too. And the first one or two or 10 might not take you up on it, but let them know this is, you know, an understandable disability. You know, a hearing disability is not too hard to wrap your mind around, and that it was a simple request for a PA system so that you can adequately participate in your local government. And you have that right to petition your government for a redress of grievances. And this is part of that process. So hopefully that gave you something to go on. But I'd love to hear, you know, back from you at some point and see how things turn out.
Well, may I ask you another question?
Sure.
Can you file, what I was thinking about is filing a disciplinary charge with her against the PA Supreme Court because of her actions, because she does not let me speak at the meeting. She takes over. She takes over and doesn't let me speak at the meeting.
So the city attorney takes over the meetings and does not allow members of the public to speak, or just doesn't allow you to speak?
Just doesn't allow me to speak because I call them out on their corruption.
Okay. Well, that's definitely not acceptable. And yeah, I would, I mean, see what you could do about, gosh, I don't know. It doesn't look like any of my First Amendment auditor friends are in the crowd at this point. But if they are, or if they're watching later, can you please let me know if you have an interest to help with this individual. Anyway, it's the kind of thing that you need to get. You really need to get the pressure of the public on them. But you know, find out. Yeah, I would. As to your specific question there that you asked, yes, I would definitely make a complaint. I don't know if it's with the Supreme Court. I don't know what Pennsylvania's, attorney grievance looks like, what their process looks like. In Michigan, there's an attorney grievance commission. In other states, it's just the state bar. It's, it might be the Supreme Court. So check into wherever it is and file a very specific complaint and include whatever proof that you have. Keep it as short and sweet as you can, but include everything that helps to support it. So don't put in any extra fluff, basically, is what I'm saying. But definitely that sounds very inappropriate. And it's not really, it shouldn't shock me anymore because we've seen that and experienced that ourselves in many situations. But yeah, I would pursue that as well.
Sounds great. I will do that. Thank you very much.
Yes. Have a great night.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. So 937 area code. I'm going to give you a chance to call back in. 937 if you wanted to call and ask whatever your question was. You called right after that lady from Pennsylvania called. So, all right. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So where are you calling from? Where's 937?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is your question?
Well, this concerns my daughter. She's 22 years old and she moved out of our house a couple years ago. Well, she did her city taxes here, and what apparently there was a dispute on the amount. Well, to make a long story short, they ended up sending her 3 notices, but she doesn't live here anymore. She lives in another town and she's a college student, so she doesn't have very much money. But they sent her three notices, and then they sent her, which she didn't get, but then they turned around and sent her a court order to go to mayor's court. And the question I have is because when she got the notice, she ended up paying it, but she went to the city building to find out if they would have to, if they could just drop it, and they wouldn't drop it. But the question I have is it unconstitutional to make you pay or have something charged on your criminal record? Because it's a 4th degree misdemeanor here in Ohio. Would it, after she already paid it? And then the second part of it would be they're trying to charge her a bond. And I don't understand what that's all about.
Yeah, so it's like city income taxes? Is that what it?
Yes.
And so she had filed a return, but they said that she owed money in
more.
She owed more. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was a discrepancy between what they withheld from her paycheck and what the tax service that she used filed for her.
Okay.
So, I mean, I didn't know if they could, put a judgment against her, because she's got court tomorrow, and they're claiming she's going to be charged. She's going to get a 4th degree against her for not paying her taxes when she paid them as soon as she found out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing too many pieces to really be of value to you. But in general, I mean, we don't have debtor's prison. So misdemeanors are, generally speaking, misdemeanors are crimes where you get not only a fine, but you could be facing jail time. And if she's paid it, they have no remedy to be able to throw her in jail over it. I don't know what they would want to get for a bond, because bond, generally, if there's some sort of, fraud, or there's some sort of money due to someone, to a municipality or whatever, the purpose of bond is so that if they win in a court case, then that money is secured, while the dispute is going on, essentially, is the purpose of that. So if she's already paid it, I see no purpose for what a bond would do there. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Again, it could be that I'm just missing far too many pieces to really do much service in answering the question, but the whole thing seems wrong. Now, as far as her, them not sending notices to the right place, If she had updated them on, her correct mailing address and they were still sending it to the wrong place, then that would be a valid argument she would have. If she was not updating them, if, your state's Department of Treasury or whomever, the city involved, whichever agency it would be that needs to be updated on addresses, if they were not informed of a new address, then that wouldn't be, a winning argument, so to speak. It might explain a delay for her not paying it, but it doesn't, it just depends on why, what she might want to bring that up for. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would hammer on is whatever the amount is, let's say it's $500, for her to go in and say, listen, they said I owed $500. I didn't know about it initially. I had a tax preparer prepare and file taxes, and I thought I had paid everything that I was, that was due. Once I became aware and finally received the notice, I paid it. And so it's already paid. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. There was no intent. So in general, with crimes, you have to have a criminal mind, mens rea. You have to have
Okay.
a criminal intent to do wrong. Now, there's some times where it's, strict liability, so a lot of times in jurisdictions, statutory rape is an example. It doesn't matter whether you intended to have sex with a minor. If you do, you're going to be criminally responsible. Things like that. But, most of the time you can't have, what you're talking about, even if it really is a legitimate criminal offense. There most likely it's going to have, you have to have a mens rea, criminal intent to, commit, whether it's through negligence or it's through, fraud or, something of that nature. But, so I would just have her argue the truth that it's paid, and she didn't ever, avoid paying it. As soon as she was notified, as soon as she actually received notice, she paid it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking less than $100. I mean,
oh goodness,
it's like $70 for a fourth degree misdemeanor, and they're trying to charge her a bond of like $175.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. They stacked the deck against you. So.
Wow. Yeah, that is, that's pretty horrible. If all that I said, I stand, behind it's things that I would raise. If you, feel up to it and you want to give me any update on how it goes, I'd love to bring some light to this. And, because a lot of my followers are in Michigan and it's spread into Ohio, maybe there's some benefit we could do just with having the public in the general vicinity be outraged by this. So, there's nothing of a legal nature that I can do myself, but if, she wants to reach back out and let me know how tomorrow goes, my email contact at restorefreedomkh.com would be the best way to do that. She can, I mean, if she wants to do that, have her scan and send me whatever court paperwork she gets on it, charging documents, whatever, if it's an arraignment or whatever happens tomorrow, I'd love to see what goes on in that for sure.
Okay. I appreciate your answer, and we're praying for you and your health.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. God bless you.
Yes, you too. Have a great night.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. So I'm going to throw up the most important, words of the evening on the screen here. RestoreFreedomKH.com/donate. It's what's going to help me keep the lights on and the internet running and the computer going to be able to continue to help you, because I can't do this without your help. And quite frankly, if I'm going to be honest, it has been a real challenge. It's been starting to be more and more challenging since I moved down here, but this year has been like a gut punch that it seems like I'm supposedly providing all kinds of benefit, and a lot of you appreciate the work that I do. But the amount of support that I end up getting, the amount of views we get on the videos, the amount of donations that come in, the amount of letters of support that come in the mail or whatever, it's been a lot fewer and farther between. And I'm human. So I look for those as indications that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing with my God-given abilities. So at any rate, okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss, it looks like I didn't miss any questions. I'm looking for questions. I'm not seeing any, so it must be a lot of conversations that you guys are having amongst yourselves, which is great. Oh, I have a question. Do I have a monthly operating budget? No, I just paid the bare minimum, and the less and less donations I get and the more broke we get, the less and less I have the ability to pay for. So that's why I was hoping doing Rumble instead of using this Streamlabs would do it, because Rumble streaming is free, but then that turned into be a crap show. Yeah, we, recently on our newsletters switched to hosting. I don't even know all the background terminology, but anyway, we were using Sendinblue, now called Brevo, I think. And that was a significant expense, a few $100s every year, and we were able to get away from that finally. And now I have a program that I think I pay $100 or $150 for, that facilitates helping me with the newsletters and things like that. But anyway, so yeah, there's just basics, the internet, that ranges from $50 to $75 a month, depending on, what Spectrum is doing. They've got the monopoly down here. So at least in our neck of the woods. Anyway, I'm an open book, guys, truly an open book. And clearly I'm not getting rich off this. If you saw my house, you would understand. But any little bit that you guys can help would be greatly appreciated. I see a lot of you were saying, keep it in landscape mode. I guess I'll do that. I did look at evening numbers versus the noon hour, because my preference, quite frankly, is to get this all done at the noon hour. But I have, in the last few months, done one show a month at noon and one show a month at 7 p.m. And we're getting slightly better numbers at the 7 p.m. time. So I'll continue doing 7 p.m. for now, and at least once a month. So next time you should bring me popcorn. I'm a huge fan of movie theater popcorn. Oh, speaking of movie theaters, for those of you who might not have heard, all across the country, September 18th is the Vaxxed 3 movie, which is going to be, I don't know if it's only AMC theaters across the country or if that's just in Florida, but Vaxxed 3 is coming out September 18th, one day only at this point, kind of like the Sound of Freedom, where it's going to be at a certain, day and time. And if there's a big enough outpouring of support and enough demand, then the hope will be that they can convince the theaters to sign on for round 2 and have more show times. If you are in the Daytona Beach area and want to check it out, please do so. The AMC in Daytona will be hosting one of those locations. If you are anywhere in Florida and want to help facilitate one of those, this is a non-paid position. You want to help facilitate one of those showings to make sure the truth can get out there about the hospital protocols that are killing people, and as well as the forced vaccinations. Then please reach out to the Children's Health Defense. My good dear friend, Maya Hahn at Children's Health Defense is coordinating all those volunteers. You can find her on Telegram and Facebook and Twitter, all the social media platforms. Please make sure to check out that movie when it comes out September 18th. Mark your calendars. Please, please, please go and show support for the truth and for the people who are suffering at the hands of these mandates and bad procedures and policies. So let's see. Yes, and a reminder from a pig's daughter to be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. That does a lot, and I certainly appreciate it. Another question I saw that just came in. Let's see. If a statute conflicts with the Constitution and you argue the supremacy clause doctrine, but the judge still denies you, can you hold the judge liable pursuant to their oath? Unfortunately, in most situations, the answer is no. And I think it's a load of BS, because if a judge is violating their oath, if a judge is setting aside, or more likely throwing aside, the Constitution and the oath to it, which they have taken, they should be held personally as well as professionally responsible for that. And they should no longer be able to hold that office. And quite frankly, if that happened, if those kinds of things were actually allowed to take place to enforce accountability within our judicial system, there would be a whole new slate of judges, because most of them, unfortunately, violate that oath on a regular basis. It's not to say that it can't happen, that you can hold a judge accountable. We are seeing a little bit more and more of that, but it's just not as likely as what I would like it to be. So, yes, laws repugnant to the Constitution should not only be subject to review, they should be thrown out. So, with that being said, okay, it looks like I answered all the questions. So I'm going to say goodnight this evening and encourage you to join us, hopefully, for our next scheduled show, Tuesday, the second Tuesday in August at noon. Hopefully I'm feeling up to it. And I want to say that was the 13th of August. And also, for those of you who are in the mood to be praying for me and the things that we have going on, in addition to the health concerns that I have, I ask that you continue to pray for our case with the city of Ormond Beach. Our case is still currently pending in the 5th District Court of Appeals for the overall appeal, but for the newest round of orders, where the city has requested and received a bogus magistrate order for $32,000 and growing for the pavers we have and our privacy fence. I had to file a new notice of appeal in the circuit court as well. And so we ask for your prayers in this whole convoluted, complicated, messed up system and situation. We ask for your prayers that the Constitution is finally followed and that justice is finally served, and all of these fines, fees, and liens are thrown out. And hopefully, for the 2 years now that we've been suffering through this, that it will be doing some good, because it'll pave the way for freedom for other homeowners and property owners across not only this jurisdiction, but across the state. So if you want to join me in that prayer, I would greatly appreciate that. So, all right. Are the pavers still squatting on your driveway? Yes, the pavers are still squatting on my driveway. They will remain there, because if I pulled them up, I would actually be in violation of city code, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? They want to force me to do something that would put me out of compliance with city code, because they don't know how to read their own code. It's fabulous. All right. With that, everyone, I wish you all a wonderful evening, and check out that website, restorefreedomkh.com, for all kinds of resources. And of course, go to the donate page to be able to support us in any way, shape, or form that you can. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Our work to restore freedom would not be possible without support from people just like you. From the various software and hardware needed to the legal research materials, every dollar you can donate helps. Make sure to like and share this video too. And remember to follow and subscribe and click that notification button. Together, we can restore freedom.